Okay, real life traders. We are looking at 3 o'clock on October 17th. What a day in the markets today. I mean, just, strong, good push, a little bit of pullback in the afternoon. Let me go to a screen share real quick. Give me a second. Let's go right. There we go. And let me just get my chat out of the way again. Okay, you should be looking at a chart of NVDA. Just give me a quick confirmation on that. Just make sure you see in the chart. Okay, cool. Thanks, Martina. All right, so we're going to be talking again. We're going back to the well, talking about analyzing price action and volume. Great example today on NVIDIA. But what I'm going to do, this is going to do something a little unique here. So look, well, first, let me ask, okay? I'm assuming the majority of you, and actually, real quick, before I even say that, let me go pull up participants and let me look at the attendee list. I'll be able to tell, yeah, okay. So there's enough of you here that who should be able to answer this question positively. All right, so I'm assuming now that I'm looking at all the names of everyone here today, the majority of you have probably sat through my presentation, if not live, certainly the recorded version of creating a trading plan. Give me a one real quick in the chat if you have seen that presentation, either live or the recording. Twice, John. Beautiful. Martina. Cool. Okay. I'm guessing there's probably more of you as well. So here's what we're going to do. Kind of something cool that I thought of that we're going to do today is at the end. So I'm with you from now until 4. Sometime before the end of my hour, I'm going to throw a question out to the group. Okay. Who here, okay, would like a free coaching session? Give me either a 1 or a Y in the chat if you would want to participate in a free one-on-one coaching session. All right, good. Getting some ones. Perfect. All right. So here's what we're doing. At the end of the session, at the end of the hour, I am going to actually, hey, William, real quick, if you would do me a favor, throw your chat on to everyone. So you're currently on host and panelists. That way everyone can see your response. So end of the hour, I'm going to ask the group a question, right? So you're all going to have an opportunity to answer the question and then tell me, I'm going to need to know why. I'll present all this at the time, but I'm going to ask a question. You're going to have to be able to tell me yes or no, which is simple, right? It's a coin flip right there. But then you're going to have to tell me why it was yes or no, right? So just prefacing the next hour with that question. And if, again, the hint here is whether or not you have sat through and participated either live or the recordings of me creating a trading plan. All right. Okay. So let's get into it. So NVIDIA, right here. Let me just hide the controls here real quick. You don't need to see all this. Okay. So here we have a 3-minute chart of NVIDIA as well as the daily chart, right? So what did we get today, right? Well, NVIDIA gapped down, but gapped right down to the 100. So that light blue line here, that is the daily 100, right? So good area for a bounce. So if you were thinking of like, hey, NVIDIA is gapping down, but it's gapping to a really good support level, that being the 100, that's a simple moving average, then it's a buying opportunity, right? So pretty good thesis to go into the day thinking about, right? Just in general. So, and then of course you want to watch the market and see what the market's doing. And, and the market definitely, pushed, right? It was back and forth a little bit, but we did get a really good push through the from the morning into the middle part of the day, and then a bit of a pullback after that. But so here on NVIDIA, right? So we open. Let me back out a little bit more here. Okay. I mean, look at the pre-market, right? I mean, pre-market, just complete waterfall, right? So most people would be looking at that pre-market and going, okay, this is just going to be an ugly day for NVIDIA. It's just going to keep rolling over and going even lower, right? Just based on that pre-market action. I mean, look at that. Just here, holding, and then just complete waterfall, right? So, but again, if you were paying attention to the daily chart, you see that it's actually gapping to a support, right? So that's one of the things that I do have my rules, right? So we're talking about rules as well. My trading rules is that if a stock is gapping to either up or down to a very obvious support resistance level, then I'm going to be more cautious about trading it in the direction of the gap, right? So in this case, right, so it's gapping down. So then knowing that it was gapping to this 100, I'm going to be very cautious about taking that in the direction of the gap just because it's a strong level of support. And I'm anticipating that people might step in there and buy. Well, it's exactly what happened. So let's look at just on the 3-minute chart here, right? So NVDA opens up, right? Big bearish candle to start, get a little bit of bullish action, and then boom. Okay, now two really key candles here. Let me zoom in a little bit. Let me just zoom in right here. Two really key candles in terms of analyzing the price action, which again, price action is just simply the candles, right? The size, the shape, the sentiment of the candles, that's price action. And then the volume. And so that what I'm looking for in this scenario here is a hammer candle at the bottom of a move with volume. Well, look at that, right? Nice looking hammer candle. Look at that volume. Now, the two candles that I say are the key candles for me are this one and this one. Okay. Look at the size of this candle, right? I think everyone could agree that is a very bearish candle, right? A little bit of a wick up top, a little bit of a wick down below, but for the most part, I mean, just straight on selling, right? And then look at the volume, right? So when you look at how NVIDIA opened, right? Again, the first 3-minute, 5-minute volume of the day, the first candle, I kind of just, ignore that because there's a lot going on when the market opens and things settling from overnight and this and that. So I don't pay a whole lot of attention to the very first candle in terms of volume, but just look at what happened here. Opened and then look what volume did. Dropping, right? Even though price is going down, right? The volume is dropping off. And then you get this gigantic candle, boom, look at the volume spike, right? So right there, right when that volume came in, I'm thinking to myself, get ready for the bounce, right? I've already shared with you that my thesis on NVIDIA for the day was it's gapping to a support, it's going to bounce, right? And of course, I mean, look, price can go through an area, right? It doesn't mean it's just going to hit that line and it's like, that's just a hard line in the sand where it can't go beyond. Of course it can, but ultimately it's got to hold. So I see that candle come in, I look at that volume, and I think to myself, look for the bounce. Show me that hammer candle I'm looking for. Show me the hammer candle with volume I'm looking for. And then boom, right? Comes in on the 3-minute. Now, You also all know, right? You should know, but by now that I'm not going to just look at the 3-minute candle, right? Am I going to look at other time frames right now? Right, 3-minute. Market's been open. This candle came in at 950, right? Yeah, John, exactly. I'm gonna be going to the 5 and the 15, right? Now, granted, the market's only been open, there's only going to be a little more than one 15-minute candle, but in general, so I'm anticipating the 15-minute candle be looking pretty bearish. But because again, this is only at happening at 950, right? So we've got like one 15-minute candle, and after this move, I'm expecting that 15-minute candle to look pretty bearish. But again, given the location of this gap and the fact that I got this hammer candle with volume, I'm going to rely on the 3 and the 15. The 3 and the 5-minute chart here. I want them in alignment. I want to see the same thing, and I have to understand that the 15-minute chart this early in the morning is not going to be a great help to me. Okay. But let's just jump over now to that. Okay. Let's look at what this looked like on here's the 5-minute, and here's the 15. I don't think we need it that big. Right. So this candle started forming at 9:45, right? So this went from 9:45 until 10 o'clock. So, but at 9:50, this was probably looking pretty bearish, right? On the 15-minute candle, that actually could look more bullish given, we've talked about the advanced volume bars last week, but just looking at the 5-minute, right? You thought the 3-minute hammer looked good. Look at that. I mean, that is a great looking hammer, right? The 3-minute one is more hammer-ish to me, right? It had a little bit more of a bigger body, but this right here is an amazing looking hammer. Okay. 5-minute chart with volume, right? Granted, but again, you're comparing these two candles. You're comparing the 3-minute chart and the 5-minute chart, and the two candles I pointed out in the 3-minute chart, as well as the candles here that I'm looking at the 5-minute chart, right? Go back to the 3-minute real quick, right? Again, look at the size of that candle with that much volume. And then you look at this candle, which had not quite as much volume, but pretty close, right? You can look at that and go, that's a lot of volume. Like the volume here, and actually you could throw in a third candle. Look at this one, right? This volume on this candle, big bearish candle, selling almost right to the close. Same with this one, right? So these two, look at the volume. Then you look at this, and then you get that long lower wick, which is buying pressure, right? It's buying pressure after it's gapped to a strong moving average. Great. So I'm now thinking, okay, time to go long. Go to the 5-minute chart. Same thing. I look at this candle. Now, granted, on the 5-minute chart, it actually is a little more appealing. That is a word. Because there is see on the 3-minute chart, those candles didn't have much of a lower wick. 5-minute chart, look at that. There's even more of a lower wick. So the buying pressure actually was already starting in here, right? Still, I mean, the bears won out, but the buying pressure was started. And then you get this candle, and that's it, right? You can now, I have talked about how I'm slowly changing my rules where I have gone from saying, well, I don't take breakouts and breakdowns to I've done enough back trading now to see these hammers and go, hey, sometimes I just got to bite the bullet and take the breakout, because more often than not on these hammer candles like this, I've noticed I've missed a lot of entries because I will wait for the confirmation candle, and the confirmation candle was this one, right? For me, right? This is just really kind of too small of a candle for me to go, okay, that's confirmation, even though it closed above here, right? But it's not a big candle, right? And the volume wasn't great. The confirmation candle is this one, right? So what do? Right? So if I'm altering my plan that I've had in place, which says I don't take breakouts and breakdowns, well, if I can now have a caveat to that and say, well, unless it's a hammer at the bottom of a move or a shooting star at the top of a move with a volume spike, then I can, right? So what do? Well, that this hammer comes in, just throw in, an entry. And again, I don't like to go a penny above, just my thing. I like to go 3 cents above. So in this, you go, let's see, the high 420, especially on a stock that's, $400+. So 429.70, I'm going to go 429.73, right? That would be my entry.
You can't do that in the contacts app.
And then, sorry about that. So high 429.70. So I'm just dropping in that line there. It's not the exact location. And then stop, right? So the stop is going to go down here. I'm not going to go right underneath the candle. It's too obvious. So I'm going to go down here, probably, give it a little bit of room so that even if it comes down, I've got some space to move even prices come down, let's say it goes against me, and I do get a bullish candle in here where I can move my stop, at least I can move it up and lose less than a full R. I'm also not putting my stop immediately right underneath this, which is a very obvious level, right? So all the algos see it. It's where everybody else's stop is. I don't want my stop to be where everybody else's stop is. Okay. So entry, stop, I can color code this actually. Okay, entry and stop. This is just a textbook example also of using the 3-bar, the 5-minute 2-bar trailing stop. Albert, is Albert here? Albert, are you here? Thought I saw your name. Sorry, I'm scrolling. I'm looking to see if I see Albert's name. I don't know if Albert is here. Anyway, but there was a question that came through, and I'm pretty sure it was Albert who asked me the question in Slack. Just want to confirm, when I'm using this 5-minute 2-bar trailing stop, do I include the wicks? And the answer is yes. Okay, so when I'm using this trailing stop strategy, the wicks count, right? So it's the full candle that has to. So when I'm doing this on a long trade, going bullish, the candle's got to be making a series of higher highs and higher lows, and that does include the wicks. Okay, so let's take a look at this. And so anyway, entry above this candle, stop below, boom, you're triggered in, right? Next candle, you get that, right? If I get that candle like that, and with that volume and with my stop down here somewhere, I'm definitely now moving my stop at least into here, right? I'm not going to move it all the way up in here, right? But I'm going to move it up here. So already right there, I've started off with my stop in a less conspicuous spot, right? So it's not going to be an obvious location. But as soon as I get that confirmation candle, I am going to be moving my stop up so that I can lose less than 1 R. Again, the key to trading is always try to lose less than a full R, right? Your risk unit. So next candle comes in, makes a higher high and a higher low compared to this one. Yes, right? So per my rules, and I'm not ready to implement that yet, because really what I'm looking for is I need to kind of get above. I don't need to go back above the high of the day, but I definitely want to see some type of a close up above these candles here, right? This is just too soon. This could easily come up here. Again, remember, my standard approach to trading is after this candle would be to put in a limit buy here and let it come down and retest, right? So knowing that I do typically anticipate and expect a retest like that, I'm not going to be that aggressive with moving my stop up until I get some type of a close above this level here, right? So even though this candle made a higher high and a higher low compared to this, it's too early in the trade to implement this trailing stop strategy. So here's a great example of, this candle came up, and it closed, and it basically was at around the high of this candle here, right? So if this next candle, right, comes in and it gives a higher high and a higher low, which it did, right? Okay, I'm going to be more inclined to start moving my stop up, right? Now, again, still feel like it's a little aggressive just because this is an indecision candle. It doesn't close strongly above this level, right? It broke above it, but doesn't close above it, right? But even still, I can still move my stop. I can still start working on minimizing, mitigating my risk and making sure that I don't lose the full R, right? Which I've already done a little bit here. But after this candle comes in, again, I just knowing that I am expecting some type of retest, typically that's my go-to move. I'm not going to be that aggressive with moving my stop. So maybe I can pull it up a little bit more, right? But I really want to see, especially after this candle and it's an indecision candle, I would like to see a close above that, right? So see that candle get taken out, and that happens here, right? Well, once this candle comes in, now I'm free to move my stop. Now I'm comfortable going, okay, I'm not going to give up all of this, right? All this profit that I'm sitting on right now. And it's probably close to an R, right? Right here, here to here is probably about an R. I'm not interested in giving that back. I don't want to give back my gains like that. So on this candle, right, it makes a higher high and a higher low. I can count, technically I can count back 2 candles here. 1, 2, I'm not going to put my stop below here because I have this level. It's pretty good. I'm probably going to move my stop. Again, I want to be a little conservative at first, and maybe I'm going to move my stop like right here initially, right? So as soon as I implement the 2-bar trailing stop, doesn't mean I just go, okay, count back 2 from here, 1, 2, and I'm going to go right here. I know that I have this level here. If I look left, right, the lows of these candles align with the lows basically of these, right? So I know there's an area here of support, right? So coming in here with my stop here, when I know that right around here is that level that if it comes back down, it should hold, right? I'm okay with that. But now I am going to wait for that series of higher highs and higher lows to start using this 2-bar trailing stop. And again, I'm on a 5-minute chart. Next candle comes in, higher high and higher low. Yep. Now I can count back 2, right? I can start doing this because I don't want to give back. I'm over an R now or at an R. I don't want to give that back. I count back 2. I can go back 2 candles, right? 1, 2. And again, do I really want to, I got this indecision candle here. So maybe, again, maybe I am play it a little more conservative. I move my stop up here. Next candle comes in. It does not make a higher high and a higher low. So now I have to wait, right? Because now I need a higher high and a higher low compared to this candle, right? This one comes in now. When that candle comes in, and that's now strong, right? And that is, did it give us a new high? It might have. It's right there. It's double topping with the high. At this point, I am definitely moving my stop. I'm going to utilize, I can count back 2, okay, which would be 1, 2. And now I'm going to probably move my stop right here, right? Not going to go right underneath it. Again, I'm going to give it a little bit of room. Move my stop up. Now look what happens, right? Price comes down. Now I need to make a higher high and a higher low compared to this candle, right? So this one comes in. I could count back 2, 1, 2, and put my stop here. I already have it here. Maybe I inch it up a little bit, right? Maybe I come into about here with it. But again, I don't want to go right underneath. This is a perfect retest of this breakout level. See this breakout level? So like, again, here's a really good example of if I am looking for, this is the breakout, then I can set up a limit buy if I'm not already in it. But this is way too high for me to want to go in long at this point, right? I've missed all that move. But here's a great example, though, of a retest of a breakout level, right? Can all agree that this candle was a breakout, right? Big bullish candle, good volume, price comes right back down, retest that level. Okay, then it starts to move away from it. So now this candle, right? This was the last candle that made the higher high and a higher low. Count back 2, 1, 2. Technically my stop can be below this candle. So I've got it here, right? Price comes back down. You see how well this keeps me in the trade, right? Now I just, and plus think about now, right? Here's my entry. I'm basically have my stop right about 1R at this point. I'm not gonna give, if the market completely rolls over, I'm not gonna give all that back, right? So I'm locking in right about 1R. You all know, like, that feeling when you have a free trade, right? Just how relaxing it is to be in a trade like this when you don't have to worry about losing money anymore, right? It's a free trade. You're profitable and you're moving your stop in a way that is going to lock in your profit if price just goes completely against you, right? You're not going to give it all back and exit for break even, right? There's nothing worse than that. So now I need a higher high and higher low compared to this candle. Well, let's see, the high of this was 442.47, 442.43. So it doesn't happen until this candle. Okay. But as soon as this candle, again, remember, we need a higher high and a higher low. This was the last one that qualified. So this candle comes in, count back to 1, 2. Well, I don't know that I want to be that tight with my stop, right? So maybe I bring it up here and I go below this candle, right? You could, or maybe split the difference, but either way, right? Let's say you bring it up into here. Again, since these are smaller candles here, I don't want to be too aggressive with it. Next candle comes in, right? Higher, higher, yep, higher, low, 1, 2. Well, now that is a pretty good spot right there, that stop. Next candle does not qualify. The next candle does. Now, again, the farther, the greater the move, I should say. At this point in the game, at this point in the trade, I'm going to start to be more aggressive with my stop location, right? Because now I'm expecting, okay, it's made a big move. It has, approaching what 2R. Again, at this point, I'm going to tighten up my stop. I'm not going to be so concerned about getting taken out of the trade if it reverses on me, right? Because again, I just want to protect profit at this point. So this candle comes in, count back 2. Well, the low of this one, let's see, 442.89. The low of this one, 442.88. So technically, I could go underneath here, right? So 1, 2. Again, it's a little aggressive, so maybe my stop goes here. Maybe I can just kind of split the difference between here and here, right? Next candle does not look like it makes a higher high or a higher low. Definitely not a higher low. I have to wait, right? So the next one that comes in that does is this one, right? So this candle makes a higher high and a higher low compared to this. I don't think this one did. 444.96. Yeah, so it's this candle right here. Count back 2. Well, now I'm expecting this to start rolling over. So now I move my stop here. All right. Next candle comes in. Does that make a higher high? 445.74. This one's 445. Nope. So now wait, this candle. Yep. So now count back 2, 1, 2, right? So now I'm definitely going to be moving the stop with less concern about, it coming back. I mean, at this point, I'm locking in some really good profit. Next candle, does that make a new high? 447. This one, 447. So it's the same. I have to wait. Then this one. Yep. Makes a new high. Higher high, higher low. Count back 2, 1, 2. So now, again, I am going to be like really tight, right, with my stop. Not going to be so concerned about getting taken out now. Next candle. Yep. Looks like it makes a higher high. Go back 2. Move my stop there. Because again, after that kind of a move, I'm anticipating a pullback. I'm anticipating stock to come, the price to come back on me, right? So comes up here, and then one of these candles here, somewhere in here, I would have gotten taken out. But again, you can see how effective this 5-minute 2-bar trailing stop is at giving you a really clear place to move your stop, protect your profit, prevent price from just turning around, coming back on you and taking you out. And, that trade, let's see, it is if I just throw this on here, it's not completely straight, but you get the idea, right? So there's 1R. So it's a 2R trade right there. Okay. Locking in 2R. Yeah, you could have taken some off along the way, sure, right? So maybe you don't lock in the full 2R, maybe it's, a little less, but that's a solid 2R trade, and using that 2-bar trailing stop to protect your profit, prevent from giving any of it back. All right, so questions. Any questions from the group on that? I'll give you a second. I'm going to take a sip of water. Okay, no question. So everybody's got that. Everyone's good with it. Okay, how about this? Do you like this strategy? Do you like this trailing stop strategy that I talk about? Cool. Yeah, it's very effective. It works. All right, let me remove these lines. Yeah, it's really good. I mean, again, don't just take my word for it, right? Back trade it. If you haven't used it and you want to try it, back trade it. Just give me a second. I want to get rid of these lines. I don't want to remove, I have other lines on NVIDIA. I don't want to remove everything. So I know there's a way I could just remove all the lines, but there are some that I want to keep in place. Okay, so now for the fun part. Go back to here. Okay, so here's my question for the group, and this is the question that if you get it right, and again, there's two parts to this question. Okay, I need to know the answer, yes or no, and then I need to know why. Okay, and then whoever, if anybody has the answer, right, the full complete answer, free coaching session, right? So that's what's on the table here. I'm willing to give anybody who's paid attention or participated in the creative trading plan workshops should know the answer. And if you do, you will. Okay, Cindy's raising a hand. Let's see. Cindy, do you have a question? I saw you raise your hand. Okay, maybe it just popped up on my screen. It's like Cindy's raising her hand. Okay, so here's the question. Ready? A. Win. Hey, Win, have you been here for the whole thing? I didn't see your name pop up earlier. Were you here? Nope, just log. Okay, so Win, let me, because I didn't see you here before, and I was expecting you to be here. All right. So here's the deal, right? So Win, I just went through this, analyze it here. Here's NVIDIA. I just went through the analyzing the price action and the volume on this trade, right? So here's the daily chart here. Here's the 3-minute chart. I went over the 5-minute chart. We actually looked at the 5-minute trade and then using the 2-bar trailing stop. Okay, so that's kind of everything that you missed, which you've seen before. So the question when, and the question to the entire group here. Okay, and again, if somebody knows the answer, you're getting the free coaching session. Okay, but again, you have to have the full answer. So first part of the question, A, did I take this trade? No, and I have to say, I was at my computer. So it's not like the answer isn't no, I didn't, because I was, at the gym, right? No, I was here. So first part of the question is, A, did I take the trade? And then you have to be able to tell me why I didn't take the trade. That's simple, but you need to be specific. Okay. So 2-part question. Did I take the trade? Okay, John says yes, because it met your plan. So why wouldn't you take it? Okay. So incorrect. I will. So Al, you gotta help me out, Al. Be specific. So again, did I take the trade? Yes or no? There you go. Al's got it. Yep. Thank you, Al. All right, Al, you got to reach out to me in Slack. You just got yourself a coaching session. So great setup, right? An amazing setup. I saw it. I'm like, oh, I want to take it. And then I realized this was a bearish gap and go. And per my rules, right, which any of you who have sat through my workshop on creating a trading plan or watched the recording, right, and you've seen my plan, and I've talked about it during those workshops. I've talked about it when I'm, running the trading room. One of my rules, okay, and this is from losing so many times trying to do this that I had to create a rule that said I can't do it, which is I cannot fade gap and goes. It's right in my trading plan. It's written there. It's right in front of me, right? And then I see this this setup come in, and I absolutely love it, right? Exactly. This is the setup that I'm always looking for, right? Happened a little bit earlier in the day than I normally see it. Typically, it's closer to 10:30, but still let me go to the 5-minute because that looks even better, right? But a hammer candle with volume, making a new low of the day, I will take that every time, right? Anytime I see it, except if it is a gap and go, right? And that's the power of the trading plan, right? Because yeah, I could have broken my plan. I could have easily broken my plan, taken this trade, and cashed in on a 2-hour trade, right? But so here's another question then for the group. If I did that, would it have been a good trade? 2 hours, is it a good trade? In my opinion, would that be a good trade? No. The answer is no. Right? No, because I always say, right, a winning trade isn't always a good trade, right? A winning trade can be thank you, Al's got it, right? Al's all over this today. A winning trade can be a bad trade if you break your plan. So just making the money on the trade, just locking in, a profit doesn't mean it's a good trade, right? And again, this is just me, right? I'm sharing with you my philosophy on trading, right? And how I make myself stick to my plan, okay? Which is that I do believe that a winning trade can be a bad trade if you break your plan, right? And also a losing trade, losing money on a trade, but if you stuck to your plan, it's a good trade, right? So I don't qualify trades as good or bad based on profit or loss. It's all about sticking to the process and sticking to the plan. And if you do that, then a winning trade can be a bad, I'm sorry. Yeah. If you stick to your plan, a losing trade can be a good trade, right? And if you break your plan, a winning trade can be a bad trade. So, Al, beautiful job, right? Anyway, I thought that would be kind of fun to do, just because it's been a while since I have, since I've done that workshop, but I know the recording's out there, and I know a lot of you have already, sat through it and seen it. So, why were you looking at this if it's a gap and go? Were you hoping a bear setup? I assume, when so and NVIDIA is quite frankly one of my regular, it's always on my other screen. So here, I don't have it fully populated right now. Let me go to so let me go to a different screen here. Right. So I've got right now I've got 6 screens total, right? 2 of them are off to my right, and they are I use those just for like Slack and for things like that, right? But the 4 monitors that I have in front of me, which are like 30-inch monitors, I have this one here, which has all of my so this is basically where I have the charts that I'm looking at every single day, right? And so NVIDIA is always here, Tesla, Amazon, AMD, Apple, and then these 3 right here, I'll fill those in during the day, based on like if I find something that's gapping nicely. I actually, oh yeah, I'm gonna get into PLTR in a second. So if I'm looking at something that's gapping, or so these are kind of my alternates down here, right? So, and I can always take Apple out, right? I don't necessarily trade Apple all that much, but these are like my go-tos up here, right? These 4 here. So when to answer your question, NVIDIA is always sitting right here, right? So whether I would trade it or not, I'm always watching it. And if it did, quite frankly, if it did come up here, let me go back to this other screen. So if it did come back up here and give me some reason to think that it was going to roll over, yeah, I might have looked for it. But again, so what you missed was at the beginning of the day, I had already established a thesis on NVIDIA, which was based on this gap, and it was gapping to this 100 here on the daily. I was expecting it to bounce, right? So more or less, I was watching it to see if my thesis was correct, right? Even though I knew I couldn't trade it because it was a gap and go and it was fading, right? So, but yeah, so that's it. That's so this is when I saw this today, I'm like, this would be a good opportunity to throw in to the presentation also the aspects of the plan, right? And why it's important, right? So yeah, I could have had a great trade on NVIDIA and it was the exact setup I'm always looking for. But if I took it, I would have broken my plan. Right. And then if I break my plan today, then I'm going to break it tomorrow. Then it becomes, a habit. Right. Like if I allow myself to do it once, then next time I'll be like, I'll do it again. Right. It worked last time. Right. Look, right. If that happened today, right. Next time I go, oh, you know what? Remember NVIDIA, remember how I crushed it. Or, yeah, I broke my plan and how well it worked out. And then I break my plan and it will, most likely, bite me in the what. So I'm okay. I'm okay with going, you know what? I got to stick to my plan. And it wasn't there for me to take. So all right, let me stop the share here real quick. I do want to show you this other, got a few more minutes. I've got like 12 minutes. Give me 1 second. All right. Go back to PLTR. All right. PLTR. All right. Just curious. I got to pull the every time I do this, I got to bring the chat back out. Sorry. Okay. So question. Does anybody here, is anybody have any type of a long-term position on PLTR? Just out of curiosity. I myself do. That's why I'm curious. So I watch PLTR regularly. So this is a position that I had not anymore, sold at 20. Okay, yeah. So this is a position that I built over time. I pyramided in. I utilize my my strategy where I sell the naked puts, and then as price is dropping, I'm legging in, building a position that way. So I do have a longer term position that I'm holding on to. And actually, I have it in my own interactive brokers account, but then I also have it. I still do have a small account here at in Thinkorswim, and but it's for my daughter. So uh, what I realized last week was, PLTR was pushing up here into this $20 range, and I wanted to sell a covered call on it in her account, and I hadn't really looked at it in a while, and I was thinking about it. I'm like, you know what? I know I've got a position for her in this account. Let me just sell a covered call. I thought I had enough, and then it turned out I had 98 shares. So on on these days here, when it was pushing up, like on this day right here, right? This is the day that because again, when you sell the covered call, you want to do it on a day that it's a big bullish day, right? So I saw this happening, and I was like, all right, let me sell a covered call for her at I think I was trying to sell for 25 at the strike of 25, right? The $25 strike. And it was like 31 days remaining. I'm like, that's a no-brainer, right? I'm like, theta's going to start kicking in and just crush, the value of that option. So I went to go sell the covered call, and I only had 98 shares. I'm like, it'd been so long since I looked at it, I totally forgot. I didn't even have enough to sell the covered call for her. So then it came up here, and I'm like watching, I'm like, I still can't, So I was like, all right, you know what? Let me, and it was like on these days here, right? When it started doing this, I was like, all right, let me throw in a limit buy for 2 shares, right? A whopping 2 shares. But I was like, you know what? Okay, I need 2 shares, but I'm not going to just, and it's not a ton of money, right? But I'm like, but I'm still not, I'm a trader. I'm not going to just buy it up here when I know it's likely to pull back, right? So I want to get in at a best price I can. So after it came up here and it did this, and then this day happened, right? So this hadn't come in yet. So this happened. I'm like, all right, it's going to, or maybe it was here. So anyway, long story short, I was like, all right, let me throw in a limit buy for 2 shares. And I did it and I just looked at the chart and I said, you know what? $16.75. Let me just throw in, and it was somewhere. This I don't think this candle will come in yet. I did it would have been somewhere on maybe this shooting star here, I think, right? This candle came in and I got this shooting star. I was like, all right, let me throw in that limit buy. And I was like 16.75. And how I came up with that, just looking left, right? I was looking at, okay, previous resistance should be support, right? Previous resistance should be support. Same thing here, right? I'm like, and then that's exactly where this candle came down to. This one came through, but I'm looking at, I'm like, okay, that seems like a pretty good price. The daily 20 is right here. The 10's here. I'm like, just throw it out there, 16.75. So then, so yeah, I definitely did it on this day because I was thinking of when it came in on this day, I was like, all right, next day I should get filled. Let me just see. And sure enough, it came down here. The low of this candle was 16.67, right? Came right down, hit it, went right back up, right? So look, is it a amazing trade where it's like, okay, wow, look, it's 2 shares. but still, like, right, whether it's 2 shares or it's 200 shares, being able to identify that level and, and I love that, right? I love looking at a candle like that and going, oh, I totally nailed that entry. Because think about this, right? Let's say I wasn't just trying to build a position. Let's say I was just, I saw this and I thought, okay, you know what? PLTR's, making a nice move here. It was in this, it was in this kind of channel right here, right? So if I just draw another line here, right, drop this line, you can see this was definitely a channel, right? And then this was the breakout, right? So again, if you want to, you know, if you want to wait for a breakout and then do the retest, buy, do a limit buy on the retest or a limit sell, depending which direction you're going, right? Let's say you did this on a, just a swing trade basis, right? Daily chart, here's this clearly this channel here, and it breaks out, throw in your limit buy, right? So let's say I put my entry here and my stop was, maybe below this pivot initially, right? For a swing trade. Say my stop was here, right? Limit buy, stop here. I get filled on that candle. What do you think I'm doing with my stop? Who's got an answer for me? If I get filled that kind of a candle, what am I going to do with my stop? Yeah, I'm moving it. Look, if it breaks this wick, think about the sentiment of that, right? And that's what this, this hour is all about, analyzing price action and volume. Think about the sentiment of this candle, right? If this came down here and hit this level, and it clearly was support. This was clearly an area, a level that the bulls were defending, right? They were like, we're not letting price go. And look at some of this volume, right? Look at the bearish volume on this candle, right? And then it kind of dropped off, but still, I mean, that's looking pretty bearish. But if I get that kind of an entry, and it is clear that the bulls are there and they are protecting that area, if that area gets broken, price comes back, it's going even lower. So why am I going to, I'm not going to risk then it coming all the way down here and losing that full R. I can always get back into the trade, right? But to me, if I get filled on a lower wick like that, and then it gets bought up and it goes right back up, I'm moving my stop right here, right? After this candle, right? Get filled, and then I get that. And look at that. It's a really nice bullish engulfing candle. It's a big bodied candle. Think about what would happen if price breaks below here. It's going to go much lower. So that's why I can be confident with moving my stop to that location on that kind of a fill, and then certainly after a close like this today, right? Because price shouldn't get back down below those levels. And if it does, okay, fine. I'll lose 0.1 R here, and then I can always look to get back in. Does that make sense? Yeah. Again, it's just understanding the sentiment of that candle. Excuse me, I'm going to get a drink of water. So anyway, that's I was, again, it was 2 shares, right? And what was that? 34, right? 30, something like that, whatever it was. But it's not about, the amount of money. It's just nailing that entry. It's a pretty good feeling, right? Whether it's a couple shares or whether it's a couple thousand shares, right? Yeah. Martina says it's the process. Yeah. It's all about understanding, these levels and then trusting in the process. And look, if it came down here or if it came down and didn't hit me and went back up, all right, then I have to wait, right? It was only 2 shares, right? But now I have it, and now I can. So I'm waiting now for another big day, and if I can get another big close. I mean, today the strike that I was looking at was, let me go down here real quick. I know I said it was a $25 strike, but I was looking at the November 17th expiration, right? But that's the thing. So there's 31 days left, right? And at the time, that $25 strike that I was trying to get, it's basically already dropped 50% in value, right? It's already in just this, from this day until here, right now, from here until here, it's lost 50% of its value, right? And that's the beauty of theta, right? And how you, and why, when I'm doing something like this, why I'm, when I'm looking to sell a covered call or a naked put, why I'm, trying to do it as close as possible, the expiration, so that theta has an opportunity just to destroy the value of that. All right, looks like we have Tracy Ball coming on. Tracy, are you here?
I am.
You
I
are.
am.
All right, let me stop the recording. I want to thank everybody for being with me the last hour.